I've been waiting. Sunshine, why you playing? With my head on the time, you go way out of line. Hey, it's your girl Serene, and I'm back. And you're gonna get this today. I usually do not post on Monday, but I'm posting today for the simple fact they just completed the Kyle Rittenhouse versus Wisconsin trial. So today we had to close the arguments for the prosecution and the defense. They was able to finish it all today. The prosecution went first, defense went second, and then prosecution finished off with their rebuttal. The judge gave instructions. He did the lottery for picking 12 people out of the 18 jurors that was there listening to the trial. And they will begin their deliberations in the morning, which will be November 16th, tomorrow. So we will basically be waiting for them to come back for their verdict, which will begin tomorrow morning. Basically, for closing arguments, the prosecution took you through their account of what they believe happened as far as with the shootings, which was that Kyle was looking for some trouble, and the fact that he went down there lying, pretending he was something he wasn't, living in a fantasy world, and ended up killing 2 people in the process and harming another. They went through the enhanced video that was done that shows Kyle gently, and these are the prosecution words, these are not my words, I'm telling you what the prosecutor told the jury in their closing statement. Let me emphasize that. He said that Kyle gently put the extinguisher down and lifted his rifle and pointed it at Mr. Rosenbaum and the Zimmermans. I think their last name is Zimmermans. I'm not 100% sure. They did not come to the trial. They were not in the trial. Anywho, and that's what, according to the prosecution, started the chase that Rosenbaum did not like a gun being pointed at him, and that's why he turned around and began chasing Kyle. And their whole point to their argument, which was repeated plenty of times, you cannot cause the issue and then claim self-defense after you committed a crime, even though you're the one that caused the problem to begin with. So by him pointing his gun at Rosenbaum first, then Rosenbaum chasing him, he created the situation that caused it to go where it went. They also emphasized on rebuttal how he did not exhaust all things. He could have threw something at him to try to stop him. He could have kicked at him. He could have hit him. Instead, he chose to shoot with an AR-14 with the full understanding of what it could do, which is kill him. The fact that he kept saying he had nowhere to run and that's why he couldn't run when he testified, the prosecution pointed out and showed video of how many people was around the cars during the chase when he was coming through, and that he could have ran through those cars. There were no one there in the section that he ends up running through after shooting Mr. Rosenbaum and coming out on the other side, circling around. He could have done that to begin with, they pointed out also. They also pointed out that once he gets to running down the street, at this point, everyone believes he's an active shooter who has just saw him shoot Rosenbaum, so that's why they're screaming. He just shot someone, and this float, they're running behind him, and not all of them, just some people, not all of them. And as he's running down the street, this is what everyone's hearing, that he just shot someone. So this is how the other men intersect him, thinking they're stopping an active shooter. Which is how Anthony, first the jump kick guy, they keep calling him jump kick guy. He was never identified, but he shot at him twice and did not land any shots. He missed him completely. Again, I'm gonna say there was a guy looking out for you, jump kick guy. And Anthony Hubert swung his skating board, which did land it. It landed on Kyle's head. He shoots him one time, which is in his chest. He stops and falls to the ground. He ends up bleeding out within seconds, bleeding to death. Then they slowed the video down to show that I never could say the young man's last name, but the next person that he shot, let me get his Gaige was his first name. Gaige, when they slowed it down so you can see that when he was coming behind him, he did not have his gun out. He did not have his gun in his hand until after Kyle raised his gun at him. He raised his hand up. When Kyle goes to lower the gun down, this is when Gaige is saying he sees him re-racking. This is what makes him pull his gun out, because at this point he believed he's in danger. He just watched him shoot 2 people. He was there close enough to see him shoot at the junk guy and at Anthony Hubert. So that is what made him pull his gun out. It was not aimed at his head, like I said, this is the prosecution argument. It was not aimed at his head. They showed where his leg was crossed over, where he was going away from Kyle on the ground. His leg is crossing over this way, away from Kyle, who's on the ground here. And the arm that has the gun is on this side. So it's never at his head like he was, him and the defense was stating. And he ends up shooting him in his arm, taking basically all of this off. So, and then proceeded to walk down to the police, who came in very quickly to help Anthony Hubert, who had saw hit the ground. They also stated he could have kept running instead of stopping at any of those points. He could have kept going. He could have got up off the ground, kept running, because the police was right there. He could have kept going towards them. Also, they stated that the gentlemen that claimed they were there as, well, they kept calling themselves militia through the videos, in the videos all night. They kept saying it was the militia. But anyway, now that the court is here, they're calling themselves volunteer guards. So the militia / volunteer guards, when Kyle got down there explaining it, was telling them what happened, and they all found out he had just shot somebody, they all left immediately. Every one of them. Not one stayed behind. The prosecution emphasized the fact that the police had pushed the crowd down from 59th to 60th. And why did they choose to stick around when the location, the 59th car lot, was not in danger anymore? They also said that the car lot didn't need to be guarded for the simple fact it had already been burnt down. Basically, the only thing left was the building, which the owners took precaution in boarding up. The cars were taken off the lot. The only cars left on the lot were the cars that was burnt to a crisp. Nothing left at all. So it was no reason for them to stick around after the police had already pushed the crowd away from the 59th car lot. So they asked the jury to ask themselves, why did they stick around at that point? But as soon as Kyle said he shot someone, they all get, what the words he used was, scattered like rats. That's what the prosecution called them. So, that is the prosecution. I think I gave all the highlight points of what the prosecution had to say on their closing arguments. Of course, the defense came back and rebutted. In the beginning, defense came out basically swinging, as far as I'm concerned. They, hold on. I want to make sure I say exactly what he said. Because he came out in straight attack mode. He called the prosecutor a liar. I mean, besides that, he called him a liar. He flat out said he's been lying to you. That's what the defense attorney said to the jury about the prosecutor. He also stated that Rosenbaum was a bad man. He said he was a bad man. He said the prosecutor want to act like this was such an innocent man. But I'm going to get my thoughts later because I almost gave it then. But I'm sticking to this, everything the defense said. I'm going to get mine too when I'm done. Anyway, he said that the prosecution is trying to paint him as a citizen, a good individual. He was a bad man and he was doing bad things all night long. He was a bad man. And his client was left alone with this bad man and had to handle him. His words, defense lawyer. He, wait. I don't want to skip nothing. Hold on, y'all. My bad. I was just shocked he came out like that, so it kind of caught me off guard. So hold on. Okay, he also went into explaining that he believes Rosenbaum had just gotten out of jail possibly that day, but he not sure. Because in the video, he screams at someone, I just got out of jail. Even though the prosecution explains he had just got released from the hospital. He said even if he did just get released from the hospital and was medicated like his girlfriend claimed, he believed he was not medicated correctly. What else did the defense argue? The defense moved on and they went through the same thing as far as he said I'm sorry, I didn't even write it down and I just knew I wasn't gonna forget it and I freaking did. My bad. He said that it's just a poof. All of a sudden, there's a video there of Kyle putting down the extinguisher and pointing his gun at Rosenbaum. And that's what they want you to believe, but it's all made up. He also went into how this is not a game. This is serious. He said that in the beginning, that this is his client's life. He said all that in the beginning. I'm sorry. That was in the beginning, not where we at right now. So anywho, he went on to state that they went on to show how the crowd was chaotic as they're making it seem to be, as they has been pointing out throughout the whole defense, that it was very chaotic out there. They show some graffiti spray paint on a car, somebody standing on a car, and that was it. They didn't really show no other pictures of this chaos they was talking about. They run back through the video of the Rosenbaum shooting like it's the same as the prosecution did, except for they used a different video. They did not use the enhanced video that the prosecution used. In that video, it just picks up from the chase. It don't even pick up from what Kyle was doing before the chase. And it also, they went through what that stating that Kyle felt he was trying to take his gun from him, and he had to defend himself to keep him from taking his gun from him, because if he would have took his gun, he would have shot and killed Kyle himself with his own gun. That's their theory. And then from there, a mob chased him down the street, according to the defense, and therefore his client had to further defend himself because Gaige was chasing him down. Anthony Huber was chasing him down. The jump kick guy chasing him down. There was another gentleman that threw something at the back of his head that they believe was a rock. They still never found out what that was. He was hit with, but he did throw it out. The gentleman did throw an object at him that did hit him in the head, but he had got a couple of more steps of running before he tripped and fell. But they're claiming he tripped and fell because of this rock-like object hitting him in the back of his head. And of course from there, you know, he's traumatized and he runs and tells them and so forth. He turned himself in and so forth. That is the case, the defense of Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, my thoughts. I'm laughing because I've already know the people that want to disagree with me, and that's fine. They can. I am a huge believer in we can agree to disagree, because everybody is not going to feel or think the same. So if you think you're going to get any type of arguing out of me, no matter what you say to me down there in those comments, it's not happening. So as I state my opinion, my thoughts on this case is that I feel Kyle Rittenhouse was living in a fantasy world. I don't necessarily believe he went down there thinking he can't wait to shoot him up and thinking he just gonna get away with it type of situation. I don't even think he understood the seriousness of what was happening down there in the middle of a riot. I think he thought he knew what he was going to do. I think he was trying to do what a lot of 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and even 15-year-olds think. They are grown and old enough to be out here in the adult big bad world. And guess what? No, you're not. And it's to the point where he now has himself in the type of trouble that you can't just back up out of. You can't lie your way out of, and you can't cry your way out of. Period. I think the bottom line is that I think Cal was out there pointing his gun at people. I do believe that. I believe he was doing that. I think he felt real big and powerful with that big gun on him. Because let's be absolutely clear. Most people that goes and buy stuff like AR-15s, yeah, you want to feel like big Billy Bad Billy. That's why they do it. I mean, you can't, it's nothing to hunt with. If you're a collector, you're not going to just decide to walk around with it, you know, during a riot. Even if you want to take something to protect yourself, why would you take that? That's just not a gun to be walked out here on these streets. Even if the thing is his own people he were with, and he admitted on the stand, the people that testified, they had to tell Kyle, don't reply back to the people. Don't engage with the people. They had to tell some of his friends, do not point your rifles at them, the ones on the roof that was doing it. They admitted that on the stand. Yes, they felt real big and bad with them guns. And as soon as he got by himself and was confronted by these grown men, he became a 17-year-old baby, ready to run and cry and scared to death, because now you're facing the actions of that you caused, pointing this gun at people like it's no big deal and it's okay, like it's a game. He chose to act like this was a game. And in him doing so, he done killed 2 people and injured another. By the way, the two one had no weapon at all. So what was he scared of? Getting beat up? There was no weapons. There was no guns. There was no knives. They didn't have a pipe or a stick. He didn't even have that chain that they kept trying to bring into evidence. He didn't have nothing in his hand when Kyle Rittenhouse shot the man. And I'm talking about Rosenbaum. None of that. By the time he get chased down the street, everyone else at this point is believing he is an active shooter because he have just actively shot someone. Period. I don't think Kyle is sorry for what he did at all. Not even a little bit. I do not believe that. I believe Kyle was I don't think he emotionally even prepared for what's possibly about to happen to him. I don't. The judge did, before I end this video, I would like to point out that the judge did drop the 6th count, which was aggravating fact, possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18, the judge dropped that count. So the jury no longer have to acknowledge that account, or to account, that's not a count against him anymore. So that's not something they have to factor in. So it's down to the 5 counts and the minimal counts that come with the first degrees. It should be some second degrees behind those and stuff like that. So if they don't want to convict him on the first, they have the options of convicting him of the second degree in these things and the other counts, which I have listed the counts in my other video. So that's it for that. So I guess we will be on the countdown now to wait to see what the jury say when they come back. I don't know if they're going to actually get a conviction for Kyle Rittenhouse. I think this is a tough case to try for the simple fact that I feel like the video evidence, to me, it was enough to show that Rosenbaum had not grabbed his gun, but it wasn't enough to show exactly from the very, very beginning of where the chase began, exactly what was happening at that point. Because you can see Kyle put down the extinguisher. You can see that. You see him point the gun. But I don't necessarily know if he was pointing it at Rosenbaum or the Zimmermans, because it was Mr. Zimmerman and his girlfriend was in that area Kyle pointed his gun at. So you see him point the gun, but I don't think it's 100% at which one of them he pointed the gun. He also claimed that when the gunshot went off from Zimmerman, who was across the street at this point, it's not a factor in why he turned around and shot at Rosenbaum, but I think it was. I think he heard the shot, and that's what made him turn around and shoot. That's what I believe. I think that he may have been thinking Zimmerman was behind Rosenbaum, who we all know was armed the whole time. His gun was out in the open the whole night. He was out there. Every video he in, he's got his gun in his hand. You see it. It's on full display, just like all the rest of them. So there's no mistaking that. So, and I believe, Cal believed that Zimmerman was behind him, possibly behind Rosenbaum. He knew Rosenbaum was chasing him, but I think he thought Zimmerman was behind him too. I think that's why he turned around when the gunshot went off and he shot. I think his shot was from the fact that he shot the wrong man. I think he probably really wanted to shoot Zimmerman, thinking he was behind him shooting at him, is what I believe. But of course, no one's going to let that come out, because that would be a totally different issue, because Zimmerman definitely had a gun in his hand. But let's be 100. The bottom line is, if that little boy never took his butt down there, we wouldn't have the problem he's having today. And the family members wouldn't have lost their loved ones. I believe the prosecution theory that if he wouldn't have went down there, nobody would have got shot at all. I don't believe that. It was, if none of them so-called militia armed guards would have been there, it wouldn't have been an issue. And as far as property being destroyed, I just don't understand how anybody can believe a property is worth a life, especially when they have insurance on said properties, period. The car lot people said they had insurance. They went through the insurance claim. they're distancing themselves from the whole incident. Nobody wants dead bodies on their hands, period. And I believe that's why the car lot guys are like, we didn't ask them to come down there. And I'm starting to believe they definitely didn't ask them, because the only one who actually had phone calls back and forth from the owner was the friend, that the guy that worked there for a couple of years and that had known them for 10 years. He the only one that they actually called to help put the fires out when the car lot was originally burned down, and that was it. They never called any of the other people. They never had phone conversations, text messages, none of that with none of the other people. So yeah, I don't believe they asked them to come down there and stand there. To stand there for what? The car lot they were standing there was already burned down. It wasn't nothing else for them to burn. And at that point, they had taken their cars off the lot. They had taken the people cars they were working off the lot. They had even taken the tools that the mechanics use off the lot. What were you guarding? Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. I feel that those militia guys went down there to make a statement that in Wisconsin, if you feel you're gonna riot on behalf of these Black Lives Matters, we're gonna have our right to stand up and do what we need to do too. I think that's the attitude they had, and I really don't care how anybody feel about it, because that's how I feel. And that's why we have what we have today. Anytime you have someone try to step in and decide that somebody don't have a right to do something, but yet they have a right to do this, but they shouldn't have a right to do that. This is what happens. The same way they have a right to protest and gather is the same right you felt you had to guard your property. Yes, you have a right to guard your property. You weren't guarding your property. Period. Obviously, the car lot owners did not feel it was important to guard their property as they stated, because they were not there guarding their property. And then one of them, and they had 3 lots down there, and then one of them was at any one of them lots guarding it at all throughout the night. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah. If Kyle do get off from this, I hope it's a lesson learned and he does something great with his life. Pray for some forgiveness also. Because in the end, if you believe in that Bible and that man upstairs, the bottom line is one of them 10 commandments, thou shalt not kill. All right, yep. So that's about it. And of course, I will come back when the jury have their decisions to post that also. But here's this for tonight. If you made it to the end of my video, thank you. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And have a wonderful evening, ladies and gents.
I swear I give you my tomorrow forever.